Let's get into it. Sold Not For Sale podcast. Coach Colin here, and
the wife.
The wife is here. It's always a great episode when the wife is here. We are talking about extinctionists.
Yes.
You just said.
Mm-hmm. Speciest,
as Elon Musk was once referred to. He was a speciest because he didn't want AI to take over. Oh. So we're going to be, what I'm going to be showing you today is a gentleman who is a part of the movement. What's
VEMT
the
movement?
Yeah, VEMT. What does it stand for?
Voluntary Human Extinction Movement.
The Voluntary Human Extinction Movement. Now, this gentleman came up on Joe Rogan's podcast when he was with Elon Musk. But we have another clip that we're going to be showing you from the Joe Rogan podcast when he sits with a comedian. They start talking about human nature. And then I'm going to be showing you an Elon Musk clip where he's talking about population collapse. And then the gentleman who runs the movement or is a spokesman for the movement
started it, yeah.
Actually sat down with Tucker Carlson. So you're going to be seeing a Tucker Carlson clip. You're going to be seeing the bow tie Tucker Carlson. A lot of people don't see the bow tie Tucker Carlson. When he was young, he used to wear a bow tie.
Really?
Yeah. He was really into that back in the day.
That's cute.
And he had like Justin Trudeau hair.
Huh.
Oh yeah. He was killing him.
I'm excited to see it.
Let's start with the Joe Rogan clip. Is that good with you?
Yeah.
All right, let's get into that right now. That's not Joe Rogan. Boom, there's Joe Rogan. Let's go.
Always. It's never been like that. Mm-hmm. There's highs and lows, and it's weird, and there's solar activity. There's a lot of shit that comes into play. There's so many things, and you're in some groups, you are not allowed to talk about the nuance of whatever this is. You know what I found out? We were talking about the other day. That the amount of carbon in the atmosphere that we're talking about when they're talking about like radically changing all electric cars and no one's going to own a car anymore and all this shit. The amount of carbon in the atmosphere right now is 0.04. It used to be 0.03. And at 0.02, plant life starts to die. It's greener now at 0.04 than it has been in decades. The world is greener now because plants use carbon. So plants inhale carbon dioxide, exhale oxygen. Humans inhale oxygen, exhale carbon dioxide. Fungi inhales oxygen and exhales carbon dioxide. So it's like there's a whole system going on to use that stuff.
Right.
It's not good that we're polluting the world. It's not good that we're releasing excess carbon. It's not good that we're monkeying and maybe even making the world hotter at an accelerated rate. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot of nuance. There's a lot of weirdness in the data, and there's a lot of unpredictability in these charts and predictions that they use.
It's almost like a few years ago, if you had told me like, oh, we're doing global warming and we're on pace to, exterminate ourselves, pretty much is what they're trying to say. I've been like, yeah. And then it just sort of reminds me of the same sort of fear-mongering that they had with COVID.
Well, during the 1970s, they thought we were entering into an ice age.
Well, I mean, yeah, this is better than that.
There was a Leonard Nimoy thing on, I think it was In Search Of, where he talked about the upcoming ice age. They scared the shit out of us.
Well, yeah. And the way the media portrays it, too, because I saw this, like, I'm like most people, I get my news from headlines that I see on Twitter, and then I learn how to feel about it by looking at the comments. But I'm an average American.
And China are aware of that. They put bots in the comments.
Yeah. Well,
which is wild.
It's very interesting to see how many things are, especially on Twitter, are like, oh, this is like totally fake.
Yeah.
But so CNN had put out a headline that, the iPhone sends you the news headlines on the phones that says major street, like a current on the verge of collapse due to climate change. And I was like, oh shit, we're in trouble. So I clicked it and it said the Gulf Stream may collapse in 50 years. If maybe we, you know what I mean? The word may is doing a lot of heavy lifting in that sentence.
Yeah.
Like you're trying to, you got it. You got the scare and you got the click.
Right.
That's what the aim is for.
Right.
Right? That doesn't feel like, it didn't feel like it was some guy's opinion, I think. It was like, it was very interesting. I was like, oh, okay.
Well, remember An Inconvenient Truth?
I don't remember that movie that well.
That was the Al Gore movie. And
I remember that
movie started out. And
him on the crane.
I think that movie had some wild predictions that turned out to not be true.
Right. It's something like the ice caps melting earlier. Or something
What did
like that.
they predict? What did that movie predict that was not true? It did not come true. Because I think someone debunked it recently. And they made like a detailed list of all the claims and how off they are. But that was a terrifying movie.
It was incredibly scary.
Yeah.
Made people care about the environment.
Yeah.
And I think in a way that they didn't beforehand.
Which is good. But it's not good to scare the fuck out of people if you're going to be that off.
No, it's good. Yeah, you're right. It's good to get people to care and like, hey, we gotta, we gotta figure something out.
Yeah.
In terms of how we treat our home.
Yeah.
Absolutely, we treat it poorly.
We got to stop polluting.
Yes, but
Yeah.
to make people afraid doesn't serve. It's just like you're making people more anxious. This is probably a generation that's very super anxious already to begin with.
Yes.
You're making people more anxious. You're making people be like, I don't think you should have kids for the good of the world.
Yeah.
And it's like that's a wild thing to get people to get there, because you're going against some natural biological coding.
Yeah.
Like having kids is really what we're here to do on Earth.
Yeah.
More than anything else, we're here to keep it going. So to get people so afraid to the point where they don't want to keep going with the species is wild.
Yeah.
But maybe we've hit that. I don't know. I remember in biology class seeing like population curves of like deer in a certain area and how they peter off and then they fall. Mm-hmm. Maybe we have hit that sort of top with humans.
Well, when deer populations fall off, you know how they fall off?
We kill them.
Disease. Yeah. Yeah, disease and starvation. I was just listening to a podcast about this now. In Washington, D.C., outside area like Virginia, they have so many deer that they have a year-round deer season. So you can hunt deer 365 days a year. You can shoot as many deer as you want, and people shoot them in the suburbs. So I was listening to this guy who gets permission to hunt on people's land, and they ask him to come and do it because they have so many deer. They said they're like rats on stilts. There's thousands and thousands and thousands of deer. They don't even have accurate numbers, but the predictions are like every square mile is hundreds of deer. Like they think there might be like 600 deer per square mile in some of these areas. And so this guy is literally shooting deer with a bow and arrow from like people's swing sets and shit. Like he sets up people let him use their land because they're trying to kill them off, and he's whacking hundreds of deer, and then they feed these deer to homeless shelters and hunters for the hungry, and there's different programs where people can get free meat, which is nice. So they get processed, and then these people get free meat. So this guy is like essentially urban hunting.
That's crazy.
And there's a year-round season. So they're encouraging people because they don't know what the fuck to do with all these deer. We don't want to get to the point where it's people like that.
No. That's a fair point. But yeah, I would always thought maybe we had just reached
I don't think we reached that.
You don't think we've reached that limit yet?
No. I think there's a lot of issues, right? I think we get captured by the issue that gets promoted the most, and that issue is climate change. And along with climate change, there's going to be someone trying to use methods to mitigate it that also restrict your ability to do things. And you're seeing it in California where they're saying they're not going to sell any more gas cars after 2035.
I'm curious.
2035, no more gas cars.
Wow, that's so soon.
I think that's
I don't think it's going to happen.
I think that's short-sighted.
Yeah.
I think they just think that's like a great idea because it sounds good, and Gavin Newsom wants to be president of the United States, so he's just trying to go along with the thing and trying to be at the forefront of it.
And that would give him time to be put into office before his promise has to take place.
Yeah, and then somebody else has to deal with it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he seems like the somebody else has to deal with it type of guy. Unless the Emperor of China's coming, then he deals with whatever he has to
Well,
deal
he
with.
did visit. Yeah, exactly.
But
and then everything's fine all of a sudden.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, going against human nature. That was why I played that clip. It is very odd that we're getting to a place, and I've been hearing this for years. I remember having an argument with somebody, one of my friends, actually Shane, you know Shane, and he was sitting there and he's like, don't you think it's irresponsible to have, because I was like, I don't know, 4 to 6 kids. He's like, don't you think it's irresponsible? I'm like, what are you talking about? Irresponsible to have kids? I'm like, I'm going to take care of these kids, right? Like, I'm not black like that. I was like, what are you talking about? And we had this whole argument for so long where he was just like, he was in this camp of like, nah, people shouldn't have so many kids and this and that. And I'm like,
It's weird indoctrination.
yeah, it's a weird thing when you get into a mind state of there should be less of us. Yeah, it's a sinister mind state, I would even say.
Yeah, I would agree.
You know, because Jordan Peterson touched on it once when he was on Joe Rogan's podcast. He was talking about how they're raising energy levels and how if an old elderly couple has to keep their temperature down by like 10 degrees, that could impact their health dramatically.
Mm-hmm.
And they were just saying, he was talking about how the WEF has these dystopian views and how they're suggesting, yeah, there should just over time be less people. And he's like, what are you saying when you say that?
Yeah.
Like, what are you saying?
What is the intention? How are you going to get there?
How is exactly? He's like, how are you good? He's like, we know what the intention. He's like, we know what you're going to try and do. He's like, this is crazy. And it's kind of the same thing. Anytime you suggest that there shouldn't be so many people, like in the words of Elon Musk, he's like, start with you.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
And then let the rest of us work it out.
I find it really interesting too, because if you think about like all the stuff that's come out about like climate change, and they're talking about the inconvenient truth, like it hasn't been that long since people have been like very vocal about it.
Yeah.
And they're changing people's minds on this. And it's interesting that you say your friend, because it's like the people who are spouting this, a lot of them are of kind of childbearing age.
Yeah.
So all you would have to do to reduce a population is to cripple the birth rate in one generation. And that would only take 10 or 15 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Of spouting this.
Yeah. Having them feel that way and,
yeah,
and feel all the economic pressures.
Yeah.
Because when you talk about childbearing age, that means you're an adult and you're going through adult things.
Exactly.
So you're thinking about the bills, you're thinking about this, you're thinking about that. That's why, in my opinion, because, I've said it so many times, I grew up in an Orthodox Jewish neighborhood. And it's just funny. And now, I'm part of the Christian community where my church is. And, my friend Dre, 5 kids.
Yeah.
Chris, 3 kids. They're probably going to jump in and probably have 1 or 2 more, maybe. So it's like, 3 to 5, 6 kids, Like my buddy Dre, who has 5, said he was just getting started. So I have no idea what that means. Where I grew up, families had 6, 7, 9, 11.
Yeah.
There's one family I grew up just like 5, 6 houses down. He's on like kid 14.
Oh my God.
Like just not playing around.
Yeah.
It's incredible. It's so incredible.
Well, they just don't do anything to prevent it either.
Well, and they want it. They want to do
active.
that. I only bring that up to say it seems like people of faith tend to be the ones that are just like,
And while I was like looking into this movement and everything like that, it said that too is that the people who are least likely to have children are higher income, live in an urban center, and don't have any religion.
Higher income.
Yes.
Wow.
Higher income people do not have children.
Wow. Huh.
Which makes sense, because if you think about even if you think about The Simpsons, was the family, the hillbilly family?
Yeah, they had
they have 1 million.
Yeah, they had like 15 kids.
Yeah.
And it's funny how you bring up The Simpsons, how they linked that to being dumb.
Yeah.
Like only a hillbilly would do this.
Yeah. Keep having kids even though you can't technically afford it.
And it's funny because I was bringing up the people of faith because I was listening to this rabbi one time. I listen to all sorts of people. I was listening to this video of rabbi. And I told you about this too, and impacted our decisions as well. And the rabbi was talking about, he's like, so many people want money for 6 people. And they don't do the thing, whether it's starting a business or having kids, they don't do the thing until they have the finance there. And he was just talking about how God is going to give you money for 3 when there's 3. He'll give you money for 4 when there's 4.
Yeah.
He's like, he'll give you money for 5 when there's 5. But if you're sitting there just yourself wondering why you don't have this abundance, it's because you're not showing that you're in need of abundance.
Yeah. You haven't made the space for it.
Yeah. Making the space, right? Like us when we stepped into this house.
Yeah.
All of a sudden it was like, we're going to fill the house now.
Yeah. We're like, what are we going to do with this?
Kids in the washrooms, kids over here,
Yeah.
kids downstairs. But yeah, what else? Let's get into what the human extinctionist movement is.
Yeah.
And then let's go to the interview.
Yeah, it was started by a guy named Les Knight, I think in the early 1990s.
Mm-hmm.
And I was hoping that he had kids because it's just such like a hypocritical thing to do. But he had a vasectomy at like 25.
That's incredible.
So he's like always kind of been on this path. But the movement isn't very well established. Like I don't know if you can show their website now.
Oh, yeah. Let me
But
do
it's
that.
like from clearly like the early 2000s, like it hasn't really been updated. There's not a lot of like money in this movement. They don't do it for money by the looks of it.
Yeah.
And it's just funny. So they have like on their homepage, like common questions that people ask them. So they do like, it's a question and answer.
May we live long and die out.
Yeah, that's
Wow.
their,
That's their
logo motto.
That is, whoa.
Crazy, eh?
May we live long and die out. Well,
Yeah.
you know, at least they got some kind of value system. I don't know.
And
They got a questionnaire at the bottom, you said?
Well, they have questions like right on that homepage. All of these are like common questions that people ask them with their answers.
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
Ooh. I don't even want to click any of these.
I know. Some of them
Yeah.
are funny. One of my favorites is I'm extra smart. Shouldn't I pass on my genes?
Where's that? In what section?
I don't know.
I'm extra smart. What?
Yeah, that's funny.
I guess I should click that one because
Biology and breeding.
biology and
Second
breed.
from the top section.
Whoa. Yeah, there you go. I'm extra smart. Okay.
Shouldn't I pass on my genes?
What's
So it
the
says, well,
answer?
you could pass a minimal intelligence test if one were required for a license to breed. To find out, simply answer this question. In light of the tens of thousands of children dying of malnutrition each day, and considering the number of species going extinct as a result of our excessive reproduction, do you think it would be a good idea to create another of yourself? And then you say yes or no, and then it says thank you for playing.
I'm going to click yes. What happens?
I don't know.
We're sorry. Your intelligence isn't high enough to perform this basic logic test. Please consider. Wow.
That's insane.
Wow.
That's so funny.
They just roasted me.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
It's just a funny website. And that's
Okay.
all the website is just like questions about their like theology and stuff like that.
How passive aggressive is that?
That's so funny.
Okay, so what if I go to no now? Congratulations, you're smart enough to pass on your genes. So if you don't want to pass on your genes, that means you're smart enough to pass on your genes.
Yes.
This is a very interesting website. So passive aggressive.
Yeah.
Ugh.
They're funny.
You know how much I hate passive aggression. I hate it. Oh, it's the worst. It's the worst. Nothing worse than a man that's passive aggressive.
Yeah.
You're basically female. It's ridiculous. It's so ridiculous.
Yeah.
Even if a female's oh my god, don't get me started. Okay, so what else about this movement? So basically, they have this website. It's not that good because nobody values
They
things
claim
living on.
that they have like millions of supporters and followers and stuff.
Yeah.
But at their most recent count, I forget who. Oh, there it was.
Okay.
Fox News claimed in 2001 that they have 230 subscribers to their newsletter.
That's a lot. hey, you gotta start somewhere.
Yeah.
You gotta start somewhere.
And I bet you at least half those people have kids. Like they haven't been on board with this for life.
Yeah, right. That's a weird.
Yeah. And then what? Are you going to tell your kids they can't have kids? Like you never want to be a grandparent?
Yeah.
That's strange.
Hey, you shouldn't do it. Don't do it.
Yeah, it's very weird.
Oh, it's so odd. What a guy this guy is. Well, you know, what else do you have on this? Anything? 'Cause I can
Not
just
much.
get
It's
to the
pretty.
interview.
There's nothing really that interesting about it.
They're really not that interesting. So I'm going to get to this interview. Then I'm going to play a little bit of Elon Musk. Then I got another Joe Rogan clip for you guys where they're actually talking about China only having 10 years left before their
wow.
population collapses. And this was around a year ago that they filmed this episode. Yeah, so they don't have much time. And you know what? Funny enough, that is what has been being said by the government, talking about China not being as strong as everybody thinks. So it makes sense, because if you don't have a strong population, your army's not going to be as strong as it could be.
No.
You know?
Yeah, because if you take the top 1%,
Yeah.
of people. If you have a great population, that's going to be a lot.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's going to shrink. And then you need to just get whoever you can.
Yeah. You know what I think is going to happen with China if they only have this amount of time left? The way that they're trying to take over Africa, because they're moving into Africa really heavy, I think there's going to be like a lot of Africans. They're going to have to take in a bunch of Africans.
You think they're going to try and like make a bunch of mixed babies to strengthen the population?
They're going to have to. And they're not going to like it. They're not going to like it, but they're going to have to do something.
Yeah.
What are they going to do? And cloning. Yeah, never mind. They would rather do that. They'd rather do that. You should see the way they treat. Oh man, they have these weird colonies in Africa. Oh, it's terrible. All right, let's get into this. This gentleman right here. This is Les Knight sitting down with Tucker Carlson, discussing the whole movement. And as you would think, Tucker Carlson is not for what this gentleman is about. So Tucker Carlson lays into him quite a bit. Let's go.
Hey, Tucker.
So you want to eliminate the human race. How unhappy was your childhood?
Oh, I know a lot of people think that. No.
It's an obvious conclusion. Why would you want to do that? Why would you want people to become extinct?
Well, it's either us or millions of other species going extinct. You know, before we go too far, I should explain that this is through voluntarily not breeding. We're not advocating...
You're not calling for genocide.
No, or any kind of increase in death. We're calling for a decrease in death, actually.
Okay, but you're calling for people to go away. I guess the obvious answer is, what if we prefer our species to those other species, right? I mean, isn't it fair for human beings to want to perpetuate their own species?
Well, it would be fair if that's all we did, and if we let the others also survive and exist, if we could peacefully coexist. But ever since we became Homo sapiens, we haven't been able to do that.
What do you mean? I mean, there are many species of plant and animal that are thriving.
We still haven't got to them yet. We're working on it, though.
No, I mean, but that's literally true. I mean, there are all sorts of, insects and algae, and I mean, there's a lot of living things on this earth, and a lot of them are doing quite well.
They are, yes, especially the ones that can adapt to our civilizations, like pigeons and rats. But there are many species which have gone extinct due to our increase. There are so many of us. Wherever we live, not much else lives.
So what's the point of saving the earth if there would be no people around to enjoy it?
Well, I know that's a question a lot of people ask, and it's obvious that they're not thinking about all the other species. That we are just one of 10 million, who knows how many. We've only cataloged 2 million. And to think that the entire planet is just for us is rather human-centered.
Of course it's human-centered. We're humans. Now, you, apparently, I was reading that there are parents in this group.
Sure.
What do their children say? I mean, what do you say to your kids? Yes, I've joined a group that is opposed to you?
No, we're not opposed to existing children. In fact, that's a large part of it. We're not taking care of the children that are already here. How can we, in good conscience, create more children when so many are dying of preventable causes?
No, but wait a second. I mean, what do you mean you're not against children? If if I hire an exterminator to kill the rats in my basement, I'm against rats. You're against having more children come into the world, so you're anti-children. I mean, how are you not?
No, we're pro-children. Once the child is here, what we're against is conception.
That is so wildly anti-human. Don't you see beauty in the creation of a human life?
Well, I see beauty in the creation of almost all lives. There's a trade-off here. The more of us, the fewer of them. I mean, baby humans are cute, but so are baby pandas.
I don't know. How about baby maggots? Are they as cute as a baby child?
They may not be as cute, but their existence is far more essential to the Earth's biosphere than Homo sapiens.
Okay, so you see a moral equivalence between the birth of a maggot baby and the birth of a human baby.
Well, that's twisting it a bit.
I don't know. I'm trying to elicit what you think.
When you think of the biosphere as a whole and how ecosystems interact with each other, when an exotic invader comes in, as we are, and starts disrupting the other species, causing
exotic. Are you a Scientologist? What do you mean an invader? We're not invaders. We're from here.
Well, we've only been on North American continent about 20,000 years, which is pretty recent. Each time a Homo sapiens move into a continent, a spasm of extinctions occur, and we are continuing it today.
If you don't mind my asking, who'd you vote for in the last election?
I can't remember. Somebody asked me that the other day. Didn't seem that important.
Yeah. Are you? What are your politics generally?
I'm an anarchist. But the full range of political thought exists within the movement.
Huh. Interesting. And there are children in the movement too?
Yes, I think the youngest is about 10. There aren't really very many, but a lot of people who are in the movement have said that they thought of this when they were 6 or 7. It's not a really complicated thing to realize that Earth's biosphere is being disrupted by one species, and that one species is us.
I will say that is the sickest thing I think I've ever heard. But you were one of the cheeriest guests we've ever had. I don't know how the two fit together, but I appreciate your coming on last night.
Thank you, Tucker.
Thanks.
That is so crazy.
The 9,000.
Yeah, that's nuts. There's Elon Musk. We'll get to him in a second. But yeah, that is what Les was all about back then.
My favorite part of that
still
was
is.
that there were people who had the thought when they were 6 and 7.
Yeah.
So he has the same thought process
Yeah.
as a 6-year-old.
Wow.
Good.
Yeah, I didn't think of that. Yeah, your thought
Great.
process hasn't changed since
And he's
you were
roasting
6.
us online for not being intelligent.
Right? It's crazy.
That's crazy.
Tucker Carlson just going in there. You know why he asked him who you voted for? Because even then he was like, you're obviously very left-leaning.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Obviously. And he knew it too, and that's why he wouldn't answer.
Yeah, exactly. He knows who he voted
He's like,
for.
I'm an
Of course
anarchist. It's like,
yeah.
sure you are.
Yeah, no.
Sure you are, buddy.
Yeah, that's wild. What a funny guy.
Yeah, so passive-aggressive. I don't like that guy.
Yeah. I just like Tucker just laughing at him.
Oh yeah, Tucker was even more vicious back then because he was like climbing to the top back then. So he would have those interviews and lay into people. That was actually quite light for what Tucker was like.
Well, like
then.
you said, he was a cheery guy. He wasn't argumentative. He just laid out his point, and it was wrong.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah. Can you imagine if there were like, I don't know, bunnies decided they were just going to die off? Like, we would be so concerned.
We'd be like, what do you mean? Well, we actually can't say the word, but it's like that. There's a whole conspiracy. It's not even a conspiracy. It's just a weird thing where these dogs go to a bridge and they
Jump over.
Yeah, they jump over the bridge. It's a weird thing. And people are very concerned.
Yes.
People are like, why are these
Yeah.
dogs doing it? And it's weird. As soon as a dog gets to this bridge, we should do an episode on it. As soon as the dogs get to this bridge, they just go. No matter what. They could be held by somebody. They'll just like get this urge to just go. It's
Yeah.
the weirdest thing.
And when we keep animals in zoos, if they don't procreate, we take that as a health problem.
Yeah, exactly. No, yeah, his theory is, he just keeps going on about, what about all the other species? He's like, we're just one species. It's a very odd view to have because you're a part of that species. You're alive. You're conscious. Like, your brain's working. You have a soul of some sort. His might be a little glitchy, but it's weird to think that the species you are should stop. It's almost like the same thing you see when it comes to like severe woke ideology, when there's like white people who are fully embracing the thing of, I'm racist, whether or not I even know it.
Yeah.
And I'm a problem. My forefathers were a problem and I'm still a problem. I benefit from this horrible system and I need to change. And, those people get to the point where they're like, you know what, if we weren't around, it'd probably be okay. And it's like, are you crazy?
Yeah.
Like, what are you thinking?
You are allowed to live.
Yeah.
You are okay.
Yeah, it's very odd. It's very odd to see.
And it doesn't even matter that he is a part of the species that he thinks should not be there anymore. Because if you remove yourself from being part of any group, you still wouldn't think that any specific species should go away entirely.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, if I weren't a human, I'm not going to look at like elephants and be like, they gotta go.
Yeah, all the elephants gotta go.
It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, no. And especially obviously, if you were some other species, you wouldn't be on the internet doing what he's doing. But to be actively trying to recruit people into a movement like this,
Yeah.
it just seems very weird. And it goes right along with what Elon Musk was saying. Elon Musk, last time he was on Joe Rogan's podcast, he was like, it's like a death cult. He's like, this is the weirdest thing. He's like,
Sure.
and what they were talking about, it was in regards to, protesters, getting in front of buses, blocking traffic, gluing their hands to things, Like I was watching, I couldn't show it on the episodes that I did about it. Multiple protesters gluing their hands to things and losing fingers.
Oh God.
Because they do like a cement thing. They don't realize that the circulation's going to cut off. And, you know, in regular human fashion, other humans that are like, this person is terrible, is like, let me get this guy out of this thing because we can't have this. And they're trying to save the guy's hand. And like one protester lost the hand.
Yeah. And
like
those are the intelligent people.
Yeah.
Sticking their hands in cement.
Right.
Crazy.
I want you to stop using oil so badly that I'll sacrifice my hand.
It's nuts.
Odd stuff. Very odd stuff.
But if I even think about like, there's certain bugs that I really, really, really hate.
Of course, I
Like
know. I get them.
House centipedes.
Oh, no. Don't even say that.
Are literally my worst nightmare of a creature. But I still would not say that they shouldn't exist, period.
Yeah, we just don't want them on our pillows.
They can chill outside if I don't see them.
Yeah, of course.
I don't want them in my house.
Yeah,
but I'm still not going to say the whole species should be extinct.
But we don't have any. We have silverfish from time to time.
Ooh.
So they're actually, silverfish aren't nearly as bad.
No.
A house centipede,
Ooh.
I would leave.
Ooh, burn the house.
I'm done if I see a house centipede. Although they eat silverfish. So if you don't have any silverfish in your house, you may have house centipedes that are just eating them all. Never know.
Ooh.
All right. Now we got Elon Musk. Elon Musk has been talking about this for a long time. I'm gearing this up right now because you might just see me saying we're going into the Elon Musk thing. I might click onto something and then all of a sudden it just cuts to us talking about the clip. That may be because they didn't allow us to use the clip. So I just wanted to explain that to you before we get into it. I have to do it because sometimes they're just like, oh, you have to trim this thing out. And it's just like, okay. Well, I guess, all right, fine. Like, it's so crazy to me. Anyways, let's get into the Elon Musk clip as he talks about the issue with the U.S. And I think he touches on China, too. Here, let's get into it.
Face is population collapse.
Huh.
Collapse. Like, people have no idea how fast the population is going to collapse.
What are we trending
Japan
at?
is pretty far along in that. Like, Japan actually lost like 600,000, went down by 600,000 people last year.
The Japanese are not in the bedroom at all then.
It would
Not
seem,
at all.
It would seem not.
What about the U.S.? We got to increase, right?
Yeah, what I'm saying is the U.S. has been below replacement rate for 50 years. The only
That's
reason
so
the
nuts.
population has increased
Like
is because-
yearly, you're
Since
saying.
the 70s.
Yeah, since the early 70s, since like 71, 72.
So why are we spewed with all this BS that, we're overpopulating, but the population's growing, right?
No, it's not. So I mean, I should say the like lifespan is increasing. People are living longer. That's the only reason why the population of Earth isn't plummeting, but it will plummet. So, just like one metric to track is the ratio of adult diapers to baby diapers. Like, at what point does a country have more adult diapers than baby diapers? And like Japan went past that point over 10 years ago, I believe.
Whoa.
What do you think happens in like the future then? What's your kind of thought on that?
Well, I think we've got to turn this around. We've got to have at least replacement rate, if not more, on the baby front. And by the way, these are not matters that are subjective. You can just literally look at the birth rate.
Yeah.
It's like, it's an objective number. Like how many babies were born. It's like they recorded this information, So,
So you're saying people need to be having more kids?
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people who have like no kids. Like, how many kids do you guys have?
I got no kids.
I mean, that we know
None
of.
of you guys have. What the fuck?
I'm 28, but I mean,
I'm 20.
I guess I
20
could.
is reasonable.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
I've been thinking of it.
I'm trying to get a baby mama soon, but
Yeah.
And I just got married last month. She's over there.
Okay. Hey, congrats.
I feel like that's kind of changing though. I think like with generations, our generation is have like less marriages, less kids.
Well, child support, man. A lot of guys are scared right now.
It's true.
Well, that's not the only thing, but
I mean,
yeah.
it's true, man. I would be scared too. I mean, geez.
That probably is a big thing.
That's probably part of it.
Yeah,
too, I
but
feel
like
Part of it-
cost
part of it too.
is probably
Cost
a big
of a
thing.
child.
Yeah.
So basically, Elon Musk just goes he goes deeper into it as well. It's like a whole 15-minute clip of him just talking about how it's collapsing. He talks about China, Japan, U.S., everything. And as you saw in those articles I was switching back and forth from, he's actually spending a lot of money looking into this.
Yeah. Well, it makes sense because if you think about like the baby boom after the Second World War,
Yes.
there was a lot of babies born all of a sudden. And now we're getting to the point, because that was like people born in the kind of 45 to 1960, I think, somewhere in there.
Yeah, right here.
Yeah, there it is. And then all those people now are aging out. So they're retiring.
Yeah.
Like my dad's age.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
It's like everybody's retiring in the next 20 years. They're going to start passing on if they aren't already.
Yeah, it's exactly what you're saying. 1958, there was this huge spike here, and then as it just goes, it goes down, and then it shoots up a little bit in the 80s because of the music, I'm sure. Michael Jackson was killing it back then. And then it goes...
And it follows the economy, too.
Yeah, exactly. It's very, very worrisome.
Yeah.
Very, very worrisome, you know?
And if people can't afford groceries right now, and there was a baby formula shortage, and I think there still is.
Yeah.
Like people don't want to have kids in that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's also exactly what you're bringing up. Those pressures, those economic pressures. So it's like, if I can't pay for this, I can't pay for that, but I can't pay for that. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, and I'm gonna have this kid, and oh, we won't be able to do it. Like, I have a friend, one of my good friends. He talks about that all the time. He's like, oh man, it's just like how much it costs, and I'm just like,
but you make it work.
Just do it.
Yeah.
Just do it. That's my saying. Your dad said it perfectly. He's like, the best time to have them is when you have them.
Yeah.
Like, that's the best time.
Yeah.
And I always think of that. I'm like, yeah, that makes perfect sense, actually. Because when are you ever really ready for things?
No, nobody is.
You know?
No.
At most, when you're preparing for anything, when you feel like, oh, I'm ready, you're like 68% ready. And the rest of it comes as you step into the thing you're stepping into.
And then you gain confidence with experience.
Yeah, exactly. So it's very, very population. And you know what? One of those articles I went through, it was saying, I think it was Canada here. Yeah, Canada. So what's the secret? Yeah, Canada's still growing. They let in everybody.
Yeah, that's true.
if
not really a secret.
If the United States recorded everybody that they just let in every single month through the southern border, I say it all the time. People are like, oh yeah, 380 million. I'm like, nah, actually probably close to 420. Probably. Because those are the people, when you see those rushes of people, those are the people that you're seeing. There's people all hours, daytime, nighttime, in cars, tucked in trunks, in big caravans, in tractor trailers. There's all sorts constantly. Northern border, which something crazy happened at the northern border recently, but northern border, there is Vivek Ramaswamy, presidential candidate. He had a video where he went to the northern border, but he didn't go to the Buffalo and like where it is. He went to, I'm not sure.
Somewhere like west?
Yeah. And it's just nothing.
Yeah.
It's just a forest.
Because out there is like forest and mountain and...
You just walk through.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So there's so many people doing that as well.
Yeah. And I guess they don't worry about Canada as much.
Yeah, it's 430 million people. I'm telling you. There's a lot of people who are undocumented.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. So what do you think about this whole thing from the clip that I played? What do you think a big factor is in getting people afraid, so afraid that they go against the natural biology of procreation?
I don't know. I think it comes down to like population control is just control, period. Mm-hmm. So like governments want to control the people, and the more people there are, the harder it is for them to do that.
Yeah, that's the basic of it.
Yeah.
But I'm just wondering what things are actually, what fears, because people always say you really want to bring a kid into a world like this. And it's like, well, what's the world like? It's better than ever.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's better than it's ever been.
I guess they're just talking about climate change, because the thing I hear the most is that like in our children's lifetime, there'll be this and this and this catastrophe.
Yeah.
So I hear that a lot.
And it's funny because I wish I could look back, and I could, but I should, like what catastrophes were supposed to happen in our lifetime.
Yeah,
From
true.
the time I was 1 to now, how many things were supposed to happen? I mean, Al Gore made that movie, and there's an article saying what he got right, what he got wrong. He actually got nothing right. Nothing that he said. Greta Thunberg said we'd all be gone in I think she said by 2023 or 2022. She said this back in 2018, and she deleted the tweet.
Of course.
Like,
because we're still here. We're good.
How long are we gonna give into these dystopian views that these I don't know. I don't even want to say expert. I don't want to classify her as an expert.
No.
These people
She's
have
16.
to say.
She's not an expert at anything.
It's so funny. She's
not an expert at
She's
living.
older now. Yeah, she's older now, but she still lives like a 16-year-old. She is like 20, 21 or something.
Yeah.
But she still lives like a kid. She
No,
just
like
shows up
I
places.
honestly feel so bad for that girl.
Yeah, right.
Like there's so many she was scared. She was a scared child.
Yeah, and you know what? And we could do an episode on this alone, because Jordan Peterson, he doesn't talk about it, but he talks about being sorry for her as well. There's a whole string of events. I've actually done an episode on this. There's a whole string of events that come out as she's becoming the how dare you girl that are just like wild. There's a big company behind it, and like even she has a talent agency, a agent,
Yeah, of course.
and management, and her mom is friends with this person. This once you get into it, you're just like, wow.
Yeah.
She's like the environmental version of the Catch Me Outside girl.
Yeah. And she flies from country to country to speak as well.
Yeah.
Which is the worst for the environment.
That, and also one time someone's like, oh, she travels. I forget who it was. It was recently on a podcast I was watching. They're like, oh, she travels by sailboat. They're like, one time she was coming into this thing, she came by a sailboat. I'm like, man, they probably just
staged
down
it.
the road.
Yeah. Just
were
around
like, okay,
the bend in the river.
Yeah, exactly. And coming on a sailboat. Like, you think
That's
she's
crazy.
going through a sailing?
No.
Her? By herself? With her parents nowhere to be seen? Her parents are in a car down the street.
Yeah.
Being like, if my daughter's not okay, we're going to sue you.
Yeah, exactly.
She's fine. She's
That's
fine.
crazy.
It's 500 meters in a sailboat.
Yeah.
It'll be fine.
Yeah. And it's got an engine.
Yeah. So what else you got on this? Anything?
No, we just had
I think you had a couple articles.
Yeah. So the Science Daily one, it's just talking about how there's actually health risks to not having children.
Oh, this one, Science Daily.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
really?
it says childless women risk poorer health in later life, and actually their mortality risk is higher if you don't have kids.
Whoa.
So having children and breastfeeding actually reduces your risk of uterine, endocrine, and breast cancer.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Really?
Hugely.
That's wild.
And women who have children live longer than women who don't.
Whoa.
People always assumed it was the opposite because they always say women who have kids are tired and stressed out.
Yeah.
And it's been they've been done studies saying that women who have kids report less happiness, but more sense of purpose and fulfillment in life.
I've heard that too.
Yeah.
I've heard that for parents in general.
Yeah.
You have this whole new purpose too.
Exactly. But yeah, so that was interesting. So it actually affects your physiology not having kids.
I always say jokingly, because I feel it when I see certain people. The only person I know that's been able to fight it the most is my brother. But other than that, because one of my brothers, he's like, no kids. He just won't do it. But anybody else that I've met that's of that and they don't have kids, I always joke around and say, they're a little weird. They're a little weird. And, kind of are. A little bit. I can usually tell. When I'm talking to somebody, I'm like, I can tell by the things that they're talking about, maybe the things that they're engrossed in, the things that they're bringing up. I'm like, oh, you don't have any kids. I can tell.
Well, it just comes from where your priorities lie as well. And having kids changes your view of life in general.
Yeah, it's true. And those of you that can have kids, of course, it's a different situation, obviously, but
they actually, in all the articles I read, they distinguished very differently between those people who wanted kids and couldn't have them and people who were voluntarily childless.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So there's a very distinct separation of those people.
Really?
Yeah.
That makes sense. Because honestly, like, because if you can and you don't, my opinion, seems like you're running from something. Seems like you're running from something.
Yeah.
You know? The one person I'll call out is David Goggins.
Oh, there
Doesn't
you go.
have any kids.
Yeah, that's weird.
He's always running around. He'd be a perfect father. But something in him tells him that he wouldn't be.
Yeah.
One day I'm going to interview him. And I have a great question for him, and I'm going to ask him.
Yeah.
Great question, because he always talks about being in front of God and wanting to work so hard and become so much that even God didn't have it on his list of things he would become. I want to say, what if God's like, you're supposed to be a father?
Yeah.
You're supposed to be a father of
Wow.
5. Like, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
What are you going to do
And
at
I
that
had
point?
so many plans for all those kids to
Yeah.
help people.
You're supposed to
Yeah.
have the president. You're supposed to have the 40 to the 67th president of the United States of America.
Yeah.
He was supposed to usher in a new age of politics.
Yeah.
He was actually going to save the world.
Is he married, David Goggins?
He gets married quite a bit. I think
Oh.
he's in his 3rd marriage.
Okay.
Because the book, there was one.
Yeah, the first one
think
was the
there's
one who wasn't great
Yeah.
and not
yeah.
very supportive, right?
Well, I mean, like racist family and stuff like that. It
Okay.
was
So
very
some
young.
stuff going on.
So it was like 1, 2. I think it's like 3rd marriage right now.
Alrighty then.
Yeah, it's tough.
So it's the one thing he doesn't really succeed at in life.
Well, yeah, it's the one thing it's hard to work on, right? It's a very hard thing.
That's
I mean,
interesting because somebody who like puts that much effort into everything they do and like dedicates themselves wholeheartedly to everything they do, that's surprising that he can't make that work.
yeah. Well, it's hard, right? If you're gonna be like, I'm the person who runs around and I'm constantly doing that, it's hard to pull yourself away from that and then just, be a husband and a father.
Yeah. But it makes me think too that everything he does that he's very successful at is physical,
Yeah.
which is mentally easier sometimes
Yeah,
than
it
the
is.
emotional things.
It is. Even the hardest physical things, it's a lot of times it's way easier for a guy to do a lot of hard physical things than it is to sit and talk about emotions
Yeah.
and know that you're going to cry and know that it's going to mess around with you and all sorts of stuff like that, So,
Interesting. I didn't know that about him.
yeah, that's the question I would ask him. What if God's like, you're supposed to be a dad?
Yeah.
You're supposed to be a great dad. You're supposed to just, gain an extra 40 pounds and be a loving
He
dad.
doesn't even need to gain an extra 40 pounds.
No, but he
can
just
still inspire his
but he
kids to
just
do all
ends
the
up-
amazing things.
But he just ends up doing that. You're supposed to just gain weight and hang out with your wife, Wendy,
Yeah.
and just, that was it. You're supposed to do that. I had that down for you.
Yeah.
Did you not do it?
Oh no.
Yeah.
That'd be sad.
What do you say at that point? Very important to experience all things in life, I think.
Yeah.
If you can, if you have the ability.
And there was also the article I sent you that says childlessness and premature death link.
Yeah. I see.
It says people who have never had children are more likely to die prematurely and develop mental problems
Oh gosh.
than those who have had children.
Whoa, really?
Yeah. And it's particularly noticeable among women.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I could see that.
Yeah.
I could see that. That's sad.
Yeah, it's really meant to happen.
We're like the opposite of last night. Like we're in the opposite group.
Yeah, that's true.
Breeder community.
Yeah.
Breeder and homestead community.
Oh my
Hello.
gosh. Yeah. Yeah, but that's it. That's the things I just wanted to touch on.
Wow. Well, that was great. That was great. I think you can wrap it up here, right?
Yeah.
All right, guys. Look into it. Look into all of the stuff we just talked about. Look into population collapse. If you're young, thinking about having kids, look into that. Like, start considering life. Start moving forward, because there's some people that don't want to see us all move forward, And I'd rather be a part of the move forward movement than the
Die off.
Yeah, live long and die off movement.
That's crazy.
Jeez. Les Knight. Go and look him up. Go and look up that website. Anyways, guys, like the video, subscribe, and we got to get this. We got to get this online.
Okay, we'll put it on.
Someone said they wanted this. It'll be on there soon. Mona Lisa.
Third Eye Mona Lisa.
Exactly. All right. Other than that, we're out.
Bye.